Well, thanks very much. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a fantastic spring break. Before I introduce today's guest lecturer, I just want to clue both you and our audience listening via YouTube, if it's back operational, it was down for a while, as to where we are, because I have made a few switches around. Today, we're going to actually be taking out of the previous syllabus order, and I will circulate a new syllabus this evening that just shows you what we've actually done and what we're going to do, because I have to actually remove one more class. You'll be terribly disappointed in order to comply with the reading period week between exams and the end of classes. So what we're going to talk about today, and I'll introduce it formally in a moment, it was formerly, I think, class 22, and that is... we're going to look at Supermax prisons, and in particular California's version of that, the secured housing unit, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Extra special treat for you, you're going to not have to hear from me other than this introduction for this entire week, because on April 5th, on Thursday, taking up the topic of what is mass incarceration, what caused mass incarceration, we're going to have my colleague and friend, Professor Richard Perry, who I know some of you have had as a legal studies professor, and a very entertaining and excellent lecture. So I think you'll enjoy that. Next week, I'll be back, and we'll talk about mass incarceration and inequality on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, we're going to have another special guest, Assembly member Nancy Skinner, who's represents Berkeley, or at least part of Berkeley in the State Assembly, is going to be on campus doing an event with the speaker, and hopefully Nancy, and who knows, maybe the speaker will come join us for a discussion of realignment and sort of local correctional futures here in California. And I've switched around the class a little bit so that our reading will be a little more apropos for Nancy's visit that day. So as I said, I'll send this out this evening via B-Space, so you'll have a truly final syllabus. So originally thinking much as, sort of in a professorial way about these things, I wanted to first give you a class on sort of what is mass incarceration, because it really is, I hope to convince you, a distinctive turn in the history of penality and certainly in the history of the prison, which we've now been studying for what must seem endless weeks. And then we're going to get to sort of one of the most striking examples of the distinctive and I think alarming character of this new form of penality, which is Supermax prisons or secured housing units. But for a variety of not planned and advanced reasons, we're taking those out of order. But I think it rather works well, because instead of getting kind of the conceptual story about what's different, alarming, et cetera, about mass incarceration, you're going to kind of look deeply at a particular practice of this larger constellation of practices we might want to think of as mass incarceration, which I think, while not typical in a sort of normal curve sense of mass incarceration, less than 20% of prisoners nationwide are in this kind of housing, and yet it, I think, is very revealing. One that tells us a lot about where mass incarceration came from, what its objectives are, what some of its moral vulnerabilities are. So let me now turn and introduce our speaker, and I'm really excited to do so because I've known her for a while now, and she's been a student of mine, and this is really why you come to Berkeley, I think, as a student, is to get a chance to hear from researchers who are coming directly from the field, bringing you original research on some of the more troubling and important issues of our time, and you get that instead of getting it filtered through textbooks, et cetera. And some of the times you're going to get that from faculty, but often one of the real assets of Berkeley are the just tremendous graduate students, the world's best graduate students that we attract here to do this kind of research. And Keramet, Reiter, who I'm going to introduce to you, is just weeks away from getting formal signatures on essentially a done dissertation, and that's a very exciting event, and you're going to get to hear about it because it's a dissertation that'll be really the first detailed look at the Supermax phenomena in a grounded way in a particular state. There's been a lot of writing on Supermax more generally as a phenomenon, but from a fairly distanced kind of 36,000 feet view, not the kind of detailed historical work and legal work that's been done in this dissertation. Keramet, I'd like to claim that Berkeley is mostly responsible for the excellent piece of research that she's done, but we have to share recognition with a couple of other institutions. She received her bachelor's in social studies and Near Eastern studies from that university whose name I'm always forgetting, that's near MIT, somewhere in the Boston area, that my wife and younger brother went to. Somebody, I'm sure, knows the name of it. It starts with an H, like hemorrhoids or something. Harvard, that's it, Harvard, thank you. She got a BA from Harvard. She got a master's degree from John Jay College of Criminal Justice at the City University of New York, and then she got a JD from Berkeley Law, and within a few weeks, she will be awarded the PhD in Jurisprudence and Social Policy here at Berkeley for a dissertation titled The Most Restrictive Alternative, The Origins, Functions, Control, and Ethical Implications of the Supermax Prison 1976 to 2010. And this summer, she will begin her new position as an assistant professor in the Criminology, Law, and Society department at our sister school, UC Irvine. So we're really very proud of Keramet and glad that she'll be still in the state. We have a lot to do, and she can certainly enlighten us on prison. So let me bring Keramet up here, and if I can do it in a way that won't electrocute her or something. I think what you want is just a pocket or a belt buckle, and then risk management won't let me actually put this on you, so I'm going to let you do that yourself. There we go.
Good? Everyone can hear? Awesome, thank you. I have some really depressing pictures I'll talk about in a minute. But thank you for the really sweet introduction. It's great to be here. And I thought I'll give you an outline of what I'm going to talk about today. I thought I'd start by just telling you a little more about me and how I got interested in prisons as undergraduates. Maybe you're thinking about whether you want PhDs or whether you want to do advocacy work. Or this seems like an especially good class to sort of think about some of these career questions. So I thought I'd spend just a few minutes giving you a sense of why I started studying this stuff. And then I'll talk about Supermaxes. What are they? How are they defined? That's what I'll show you some pictures of to really give you a concrete sense of the place. And then I'll try to talk a little about how they fit into this class, what you've studied about punishment and what you're going to study about mass incarceration, and sort of highlight some of those themes. And then I'll talk about the law of Supermaxes, what governs them nationally and internationally, to sort of think about how they fit within our socio-legal system and what the rules are that say what is and isn't okay. And then maybe at the end we'll have a little bit of time for you guys to think about whether you think they're a good idea or not, and how you're thinking about that. But before I jump in, please feel free to put up your hand and stop me if I'm talking too fast, or if there's something I say that you want to know more about, or raise interesting questions that are related. So don't be shy about interrupting. Okay. So just for a little background on me,
I'm curious why 1976 is the start of your
That's a great question. So it's a really good starting point in California, in particular because it was it's slightly arbitrary, but it is the point when California shifted from indeterminate to determinate sentencing. So people, you talk about this in this class. Okay. So before 1970 in California, if you were found guilty of a crime, a judge would say you're sentenced to 3 years to life, say, for your robbery of a convenience store. And then the prisons and the parole board determined how much of that sentence you actually serve. So at the end of 3 years, you go before parole board. If the guards watching over you gave you great letters of recommendation, you might get out. If they gave you horrible letters, you might spend 10 more years in prison, for instance. So it's a very flexible system that gave a lot of control to the prisons. And in 1976, that shifted to a determinate sentencing system. So every crime, the legislature passed laws about what specific sentence would be associated with it. And that was a major turning point in corrections. It's very symbolic because how you get from there to mass incarceration is not a direct line at all. That I'm sure you'll talk more about in future weeks. And I would never say that sentencing alone is responsible for mass incarceration, but it's a moment in time when the talk around prisons changes dramatically. From a talk about rehabilitation and the correctional system having the ability to sort of help people and figure out when they have people and decide where to let them go, to a system where legislators are setting very strict sentencing schemes, and that changes just the power dynamics throughout the system. So I can talk more about that at the end, but that's why, because it signals the shift in California. In particular, California was a leader in that determinant. They weren't the first state. I think Washington and some other states also passed determinant sentencing laws around the same time, but then it took off after that, and so it's a powerful moment. It's also a time when there were a lot of race politics in prison, and that's another key thing that's going on. So that's it. And 2010, I mean, I was thinking, as Professor Simon was talking, it should actually be 2012, because as you saw, if you saw the New York Times article this weekend about solitary confinement, there's been a lot of really exciting stuff just in the last few months. So it's changing, and I think I need to write one last piece about what's going on right now. So it's a never-ending project. Other questions before it's really good as a historian. The other answer is people who do historical work often try to frame their dates even though they're not always exactly accurate. So it sort of signals that there's a lot of history in the project. Okay, so just a little background on me. Professor Simon told you I did a master's in criminal justice and about my educational background, but between all that, I worked for a year for the prison law office, which is the law firm that brought Glad v. Brown, which I think you guys have talked about right in this class. Okay, so I worked there in the year actually that they first started trying to get the class certified for that case. So in 2003, when they were first thinking about bringing a healthcare case, I worked more on a case for prisoners with disabilities. But I was just out of college and I was working as a paralegal, visiting prisons all over the state and looking at whether they were following the rules about how to treat prisoners with disabilities. And from there, I went to Human Rights Watch, which has a very small U.S. program that does a lot of prison conditions and prisoners' rights work. And so I worked there for 2 years doing research, assistance work, basically on prison issues in the U.S. And also this around the time Guantanamo was really heating up as a human rights issue, and so we did a lot of work on Guantanamo and counterterrorism related issues. And those experiences, I first started being interested in prisons at all because I volunteered in prison in college in an education program. I got really interested in the people I was meeting and the policies I was seeing and how much trouble people seem to have getting an education and getting out of prison and sort of surviving, and the sort of hard stories that they were telling me about how they ended up in prison. And I just got more and more interested in the system that we had and the mass incarceration that was going on. And so that led me down this prison advocacy route. But then after doing both legal work and more sort of research academic work in Human Rights Watch, I was like, it really seems like people don't have the information they need to even understand how we got the policies. And I think you'll really see this as you talk about mass incarceration, that there's a lot of debate about what caused mass incarceration. Was it the economy? Was it racism? Was it, and you'll sort of get to have those conversations. And so I got really interested in trying to help answer some of these questions. And Supermaxes to me were a really interesting piece, as Professor Simon said, of mass incarceration and of really harsh punishment policies. What leads people to think it's a good idea to have thousands of people in long-term solitary confinement? What are the pros and cons? How does that end up being legalized? And so I was fascinated about it as a piece of this story that people seem to not know that much about. That was what kind of started in this project, just to give you a sense of how these things come about. And now I'll tell you what a Supermax actually is. Have people heard of them? Because they've been in the news. Do you have a sense? Who's show of hands? Who's heard of a Supermax? Okay, nice. Had you heard of a Supermax a year ago? Anybody heard of it longer? Okay, fewer people. So it's been an exciting time for someone who studies these things. That in California in July there was a hunger strike that got a lot of local and national press, and I think really raised people's awareness around it. There's been a few New York Times front page stories about solitary confinement, so it seems like there's a little more attention being paid to something. Part of the story I'll tell you is about it being an institution that's extremely hidden. So what is a Supermax? It is a modern kind of facility where prisoners are in long-term solitary confinement, so for more than a month or two at a time, and they're in total isolation. They have no physical contact. So I'll show you some pictures and tell you a little more about the specifics of the conditions. This is a cell at Pelican Bay State Prison. Pelican Bay was the second Supermax in the United States. So Arizona built the first in 1986. They were setting criminal justice trends long before they started criminalizing immigrants a few years ago. They've been at the forefront a long time. Some correctional officers in California saw Arizona's model. They really liked it. Right before it opened, they just saw the physical structure and they thought it seemed like a great idea, and they decided to copy it. And so this is a cell at Pelican Bay State Prison, which is on the border with, or California's border with Oregon in Del Norte County. It's a very rural place. And this is a little pixelated, but you can see it's pretty stark. There's no windows in this cell. That's one of the things that's distinctive. Most Supermaxes have no windows. There's fluorescent lights that stay on 24 hours a day. This is a very self-contained cell. What you see there is a cement platform and a mattress that's sort of a foam pad, and you can see the sink, and actually attached to that is a toilet. So the prisoner doesn't actually have to leave the cell. About 3 times a week they're allowed out for a shower, and that's in another sort of cell-like structure in the same segment. But it's the idea is, and it's 6 by 8 feet, I believe. So it's pretty small and confined as a space. And when they are allowed out, so 5 hours a week prisoners are allowed out into an exercise yard. And this is a picture of one of the exercise yards at Pelican Bay. You can see it's also pretty stark. A former prisoner described it to me as feeling like being at the bottom of an empty swimming pool. Because it also doesn't have windows. It has a skylight that gets a little bit of natural light. But people who've been in these facilities talk about literally not seeing a living thing for years at a time. So one prisoner who was in at Pelican Bay for about 10 years remembered the one time he saw a hawk fly over that skylight one time when he was out, and it was the only living thing he'd seen in years. So it's very, these very small things begin to take on a lot of meaning in this kind of structure. And then this page is a picture of if these prisoners do need to leave their cells. For instance, if they get to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or they need to see a doctor, or sometimes once in a while if they're working their way out of solitary confinement, there'll be some kind of group therapy, so they'll sit together. For any of those kind of activities, if you could call that, the prisoner would be put in this kind of page. So it's basically on wheels, and it has a little tiny desk in it or a ledge that you can lean on. But the idea is that people are still physically separated from each other, even if they're allowed to communicate with each other in these facilities. And this is an aerial shot of Pelican Bay in Del Norte County. And there's some parts of the prison that are general population, so where prisoners are actually allowed to congregate and see each other. But then this X-shaped structure is all these little tiny groups of cells in the Supermax at Pelican Bay. So that's the aerial, and this is actually inside. So at Pelican Bay, what you have is the prisoners are in, the cells are grouped into pods of 8. So that means that any one prisoner, he could shout at 7 other prisoners. But even within the sort of pods, they're incredibly isolated because the best they can do to communicate is sort of yell through these 6 steel doors. And when they look out, they do have windows out of the cell, and they look just against that cement wall. So there's very little sort of visual stimulation. And then this is a correctional officer who can look out over multiple pods at a time. So one correctional officer can look out over 6 pods or 48 cells at a time. And he's armed, so he can shoot directly into that pod if something should happen. Although in theory, the idea is he can press a button to open one cell door at a time if a prisoner is going to a shower or to the yard. So the idea is that no one has to have any human interaction with these people. It can be completely automated. I think that's, and then this is the other interesting thing about Pelican Bay. The cell doors are actually made of perforated steel. So this prisoner is looking out, I think, into the prison yard that's at the end of this pod of cells through steel doors, and the door on the cell would be the same. It would have these little tiny holes. So the idea is that the correctional officers could see in to look at the prisoners, but the prisoners can't reach their hands out the way they would be able to through an old-fashioned cell bar like you might have seen at Alcatraz, for instance. It turns out that correctional officers actually really hate these cell front doors because people, the longer they spend in solitary confinement, it becomes really common that people throw feces and urine at the correctional officers. It's sort of, and Lorna Rhodes writes about this if people are really interested. She's an anthropologist who studies solitary confinement. She sort of describes how sometimes people go crazy in isolation, and some psychiatrists say that they do this because they're completely crazy, but sometimes people are very articulate about doing this because it's sort of the only means of control left to them to throw things at the correctional officers who are watching over them. And so there's debate about what it is, but it's known to be a phenomenon in solitary confinement, and it's something that these steel doors the officers end up heating because you can actually get a fair amount through these little tiny holes, it turns out. It's kind of an interesting aspect of it. Tells you, I think one thing that's interesting about that also is you sort of see this structure that is incredibly carefully designed and automated. The reason there's 8 cells on that pod is because there's 8 hours in a shift, and you can get one prisoner out for an hour on the yard, back into a cell, another prisoner out for an hour to the yard, all in a shift, very neatly. So is there no camera that actually is watching? There is. Those holes, where can they see what's going on? As far as I know, there's no camera on the inside. There is a camera on that thing you see up there. There's a camera on the yard. But I don't think there's a camera in the cell. There are catwalks over the cells, though, so the correctional officers can look down into them, I think. I don't really understand how that works in the. I think they're sort of behind the cells and pods, but so that's. I think in some of the more modern supermaxes there might actually be cameras in the pod. The thing about the cells that's interesting is they're designed so that no matter how crazy someone goes basically in that cell, there's not much you can do to get any piece of the cell off, right? So this cell is like a poured cement mold. Everything is perfectly smooth, and then it's that one piece steel sink and toilet. And there's a light switch in the cell that the prisoner can dim the cell, but it works by static, so you sort of rub your hand over it. So there's basically nothing that you could grab onto. There's no way you can hang yourself in the cell in theory. There's no way you could cut a piece of metal off of the bed frame to make a knife, which happens in some other prisons. So it's really designed to be sort of not have any electronics even in it. If you behave, sometimes you can have a television or a radio, but it's usually a very special clear one, and sometimes it's actually behind a case in the cell, so you can't necessarily physically get at that object either. Do people have questions about? I wanted to sort of show you what the space is like as a starting place to understand. Yeah. So that actually is 2 bunks, which is a really interesting question, because in Arizona, the Supermaxes were built to be absolute solitary, 1 bunk. And in California, when they saw it, they said, we seem to have some crowding in our prison. Maybe we'll just add an extra bunk, just in case. And so all the Supermaxes in California have an extra bunk. And in fact, a lot of the institutions have had 2 prisoners to a cell in these conditions over time. So right now, Pelican Bay is 95% total solitary confinement. And there's more than 500 people at Pelican Bay who've been there for more than 5 years in total solitary confinement. And more than 90 who've been there for more than 20 years. So when I say long periods of time in isolation, I'm talking decades in some cases, right? In California, a couple hundred people have been in Pelican Bay since it opened in 1989. And that's true across the U.S. There are some of these Supermaxes where there's a handful. California has more people. California has a bigger prison system than most states, and California has more than 3,000 people in Supermaxes, and that's, most states have a couple hundred, just to give you a sense of the scale. But they have been crowded. And the other major Supermax in California is called Corcoran, and it was opened around the same time as Pelican Bay. It's in the Central Valley, and ever since it opened, about half of the cells have had 2 prisoners in them. It's interesting. I've asked prisoners I've talked to, would you rather be completely alone or with a cellmate? And there's sort of contention. 24 hours a day in a cell with someone can be pretty scary if you don't like them, can be pretty awful even if you do like them. So there's sort of debate. On the other hand, I think it's probably better for people's mental health, even if what they're doing is arguing with the cellmate to not be totally alone. So it's not clear which is more or less unpleasant. But California is unusual for that. Most states, when they say segregation or isolation or solitary confinement, they actually mean it, and there isn't an extra bunk. But that was a good catch. It took me a while to catch that extra bunk and then be like, wait, what's going on? Yeah. So another interesting thing about Supermaxes, which is that they're so removed from the prison system. Right? I told you this Pelican Bay is in Del Norte County. It's a prison within a prison. So prisoners are sent there based on how they behave in prison administratively, which I'll talk a little more about. But all of this means that it's very hard to get information about these institutions, and it's up to states what they collect. And so when I told you about how there's 90 people in California who spent more than 20 years at Pelican Bay, that was actually something the Department of Corrections just released this summer after the hunger strikers brought attention to solitary confinement. Up until then, the Department of Corrections I had asked them multiple times over the last 5 years, I want to know of the people in Pelican Bay, how long they've been there. And they said, we can tell you whether a cell was empty or not, but we can't actually tell you how long someone was there. We have to go get their file. It's not computerized yet in California. They're working on it. And count the time that they were there. So they did that around the hunger strike when journalists started to ask. So California doesn't break down suicides and deaths by the portion of the prison where it happened. So you can tell how many people died in the whole big prison complex that has general population and Supermax at Pelican Bay, but you can't tell how many people died in that one cell. States that have had problems with suicide, it seems like it's much higher in isolation than not. And so Massachusetts has been under fire for the last 5 years because they've had a couple of deaths every year. They've all been in isolation, and they've been trying to identify people with mental health problems, get them out of isolation, have better suicide treatment. But that's been one place where there's been attention to the fact that it seems like there's a relationship between isolation and suicide. There's been national reports on jails that I think many more suicides happen in isolation jails than in prisons.
As a result of that case, of course, if you are identified as mentally ill, you have to be removed from the SHU.
Yes.
So I think that would cut down significantly on the suicide rates somewhere else.
Yes, and in California, so I will talk at the end about the law of Supermaxes, and in California, these institutions were challenged, and one of the things the judge said was if you have a serious mental health problem, you can't be placed in these institutions. And that's been true when court cases have challenged these institutions. That's one thing courts have been very uncomfortable with, is the idea of putting people with mental health problems into these kinds of facilities. Now, the challenge is that it turns out we've known for a long time that solitary confinement tends to make some people go a little bit crazy. So there was solitary confinement in the first penitentiaries in the United States in the early 1800s, late 1700s, and de Tocqueville, famous. Did you guys read de Tocqueville? Okay, all right, so de Tocqueville and Dickens both wrote about that and how horrible it was and how people went crazy. So 200 years ago, there was and the Supreme Court in the 1890s in a sort of offhand comment said, oh, by the way, we know that people go crazy in solitary confinement. So it was sort of accepted wisdom, I think, and then it came back in the 1980s, and there's been a lot of debate about who goes crazy and how crazy people go. So there's some great psychologists and psychiatrists. There's 3, and one at Santa Cruz, Craig Haney, who's very well known. You might read some of his work at some point. Who has testified in a lot of court cases, has interviewed tons of these people, and says, without question, people lose sort of mental stability in these facilities. People start to hallucinate. They lose touch with reality. They get depressed. There's all kinds of symptoms that are known to be associated with isolation. Some people do okay. I've talked to former prisoners who talk about hallucinating at some points in isolation, but are functioning on the outside now. And that's correctional administrators who run these facilities will often say, there's hundreds of people in these places, and a lot of them aren't crazy. And so there is this debate about whether the institutions make people crazy. But it's an interesting question. And I think the states trying to get people with mental health problems out definitely reduces the suicide. The physical structure reduces suicide, and yet it still seems like sometimes there are suicides in these facilities. Some of the suicides in Massachusetts have been in Supermaxes that are designed to be, safe from that kind of thing, and yet people find a way. Other questions about just the conditions? So I hinted at the other, one important thing about Supermaxes are these really harsh conditions that are implemented through advanced technology, right? Like these fluorescent lights that are always on, these really neat poured cement cells, these automated doors. And that people are in isolation for long periods of time, right? I'm talking a couple months at a minimum and as long as a decade or more. But the third really important thing about the institution is that people are sent there administratively. So they do something wrong in prison and they get sent to the Supermax. So we might think of a lot of sentences like the death penalty as being something that a judge or a jury imposes, or a lot of times a prison sentence is something that's negotiated in a plea bargain between a defendant and their lawyer and the judge, right? But basically we think about it happening sort of in the criminal justice system in a court of law, and that's what determines the sentence that people are serving. But one of the things that's interesting about Supermaxes is whether you end up there is determined by correctional administrators. So